To order. I'm going to take a roll call vote because we're part in the room and part online. Maria?
Here.
Alan?
Present.
Mac?
Yes.
Mary present. And online I have Larry.
Present.
And is Sarah online yet?
She is not online yet. And can I just ask that we make Larry a co-host
Yes.
in case he gets...
Yes, so Cecilia, if you could make Larry also a co-host, he's a member of the committee, that'd be great. And we're going to keep our eye out for Sarah coming online. And is Jeff online? Jeff?
He is not.
Okay, so Jeff will be coming in remotely from Context. Steve is on vacation, and he has a colleague who's going to listen and take some notes,
But not be online?
but not be online, yeah, I think, yeah. All right, so I'm going to start us off with public input, reminding the public that you can speak at the beginning of the meeting or the end of the meeting, but not both. And so is there anyone online? If you're online, please raise your electronic or turn on your camera and raise your physical hand. If you're in the room, please go to the mic if you want to say anything.
No one online.
Okay, no one in the room, no one online. I'm going to move us to new business. So the first thing I'd like us to talk about is, Maria, if you could give us an update from the planning board meeting, that would be great.
Okay, so I went to the planning board meeting on June 30th, and they discussed the zoning for the fire station, and I will tell you they discussed it towards the end of their meeting, and did it in what they're calling a working session, so there's no public comment.
Okay.
Because it's not a public hearing. I found that a little problematic because it was, you couldn't ask any questions or anything, but that was how they did that one. So there's no public input. They did have a discussion. One of the members came up with a PowerPoint that was not distributed in advance, so I think you guys all got that PowerPoint. Mike, you sent it out to everybody, right?
Yes.
Okay. And, you know, the bottom line on that PowerPoint was that we should make, we should not allow any public safety within the ag-res. So it was, and it wasn't even with a special permit, it was just no in the ag-res, which eliminates like 90% of the town. But there was a little bit of pushback. Oh, Sarah's online.
Okay.
So Sarah's coming in at 7:03.
Okay, thank you.
So there was a little bit of pushback from the other three members of the committee who didn't see it in advance, because it was pretty well thought out. And I would suggest that, and Jeff's just arrived too. Sorry, Mary.
Thanks.
I would suggest that everyone take a look at that and read it through. So there was some pushback from the other three members who felt that it wasn't vetted, but it sort of was like, you know, this is what we should do, and listed everything out. But they hadn't even really gotten to that point in the discussion. They were just they were on the agenda. It almost seemed like they were going to talk about how they were going to handle this. As the discussion continued, there was, I don't want to say a split with the committee, but it was definitely, there was two members who felt like, we'll keep it on the agenda. If we get to it, we get to it. Mike, you can correct me because you were also on this meeting.
Yeah, I was talking about their 23rd meeting.
Yes, I have the dates of the meeting. They're next, so, right, the 21st. They have a meeting on the 21st. So they kept talking about, they'll put it on the agenda, and if they could get to it, they would. The other three members felt it was important that that they discuss it, and they come up with, you know, there's plenty of time to come up with how we're going to do this. So the other three members pushed for an additional meeting. So there is a meeting on July 16th, which is a Wednesday, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, it is a Wednesday. It's this upcoming Wednesday, and it is specific to the fire station, from what I gathered.
Yes, it is. That's the only agenda item.
Okay.
And
that has not been posted
per
yet.
request from the chairs of both this committee and the select board, both boards will be posted as a possible quorum for the upcoming planning board meetings.
Yes, for the next three planning boards.
Including these three.
Yep. So I will say it was pretty clear that it took some discussion to get this, to get the committee to prioritize this, and I think this is important, it needs to be prioritized. So I would also suggest strongly that anyone on this committee who's available to hop on the meeting should hop onto that meeting. I think there needs to be a presence of the Fire Station Building Committee. There needs to be a presence of the Select Board. And anyone else in the public who feels that this is important. And I say this, we need to have our cameras on. It's really easy to be in Zoom land. And from serving on boards, when I was on the Select Board, when we were doing Zoom meetings, it was a lot different than sitting in the room and having 14 people show up to have an opinion on either side. It's a lot more
Right.
pressure. So I think it's a lot easier when you have your camera off, and for them to just sort of go into their own little space and do their thing. I think it's important that we go to these meetings. I think it's important that we have our cameras on.
They're
So-
fully remote?
They're fully remote.
Okay.
That's a whole other issue, but that's their issue. They're an elected board. They can do whatever, but they're fully remote. So, so we did post a quorum after that meeting. I know that Priya had talked to Mike about posting a quorum for both committees, and I do think it's important. I think it's important that we keep this on the front burner. There are 3 members of the committee who really feel like it is important, and we need to keep it forward. There was the initial PowerPoint that suggested no ag res. There was pushback. We would be one community out of the 300 and some odd in the state. 1 or 2 other communities don't allow in ag res, but in every other community, Rich had said, and he has all the information, it's allowed anywhere in the towns or the cities because,
And I
it's public
wonder,
safety.
the ones where it's not allowed in ag res, do they have more land that
Right.
is,
Right.
more than 10% of their land zoned other than ag res?
Right. So that's the
Right.
problem, right? Not
Right.
having it in ag res eliminates 90% of the space.
Right.
And there was some comment that, there's space on Codman Hill and there's space, well, we need to be realistic. It needs to be somewhere in the middle of town.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
so there was, but the other 3 members seemed to feel very strongly that we need to discuss ag res and see if it's, you put language around public safety specifically and anything else, for example, wastewater treatment, sewer treatment, whatever, would not be allowed or would be only allowed through, special permit, whatever it is. There's ways to put public safety in ag res and not have it open to everything. So there was a lot of discussion about that, and that's going to be what I think is going to be the main part of the conversation on the 16th. I am concerned that there may be an effort to try to push back on getting this to the fall meeting, but we've got to, I think we just need to understand and have people go to the meeting and understand, if not October, at a minimum, December. And if December needs to become January, well, we've got to get this, we're at a standstill,
Yeah.
effectively.
Yeah.
And I think Mark White said that. Basically the committee can't move forward until we have some zoning direction.
Right.
And at the moment, we wouldn't be able to move forward, period, because, if we don't think it's moving forward. So the biggest thing is, please, if you're available, to get on these meetings, and that's to the public as well. If anyone has any interest in seeing a fire station and zoning for a fire station, get on the meetings and let the planning board know. Now, the next meeting, are they going to do it as a working session as well and not take public
Right.
comment? I don't know.
It is supposed to be a working session focused just on the zoning issue for the fire station. That's,
Right.
at least up to today, that's the only agenda item on there. They didn't mention whether they were going to take public comment or not, but I know that they're taking, Alec, the land use director, has been tasked with bringing them some options to start with, to have some materials. So I think he's preparing 2 or 3 or 4 different options that they can then materialize into a draft to then bring to their following meeting.
And then, so I guess the plan would be to do this meeting and then hold do this as working, my impression was they were going to do all of this as a working session so that there's no public comment. And then it would go into the public hearing, and at which point, yes, and at which point then it becomes public comment. But, I will say Monday night, I certainly wanted to raise my hand and say, but it was difficult because they're not taking public comment. And the interesting part is that they're on their public comment in the beginning of the meeting, it specifically says if it's not on the agenda. So the fire station's on the agenda. So, you know,
Yeah.
it makes it a little more difficult. And I know we've been pretty good about taking public comment in the beginning or the end, but we are taking it. So.
And so just to be clear, this meeting is on July 16th, but then you said there's a public hearing already scheduled for August 4th.
I'm not sure if it's already been posted, but it will be posted for August 4th.
Right, because they have, but now that doesn't mean, so the 16th is going to be just for the fire station. They have a meeting on the 21st. They have a full agenda, but the fire station's also going to be on that meeting. Now, it's towards the end of the meeting. The last meeting went 3.5 hours. It was towards the end of the meeting. It was a very late night. And then they have to advertise a public hearing. So it's going to be advertised for August 4th. There was some pushback by a couple of members about, well, if we advertise it and we don't do it. So it may be that they're going to advertise it, open it, and then immediately postpone it if they don't feel ready. There was already 2 members that were concerned that they wouldn't be ready. I guess I would say we will find out more on the 16th.
Okay.
That's my guess, is we'll have a better idea.
Okay.
Does that kind of pull it together?
Yes.
Okay, so I see Larry and Sarah both have questions. So Larry?
Yeah, you said that the PowerPoint was distributed by Mike?
Yeah, yes. Like
I didn't.
So it was the day after the meeting, right?
Yes.
So.
Oh, so it was last week?
Yes, I sent it, Alex sent it to me the day after after their meeting, which was on Monday, so I sent it out on Tuesday to the committee. And if you don't see it, I can send it again later tonight or tomorrow.
All right, thank you.
Can we make Sarah a co-host?
Maria, can you let me in?
Oh, you're not in? I don't even see you on the waiting list. Hold on.
Okay. Yeah, Larry, that went out on
Sarah,
July 1st.
are you unmuted?
Yeah,
I
am. Still launch
Okay.
meeting.
I have done that
You're
several
not in
times.
the meeting.
Gone out and started over and
Okay.
Are you trying? Okay.
I was wondering, can we advertise the 16th meeting? Can we put up the banner? Can we put out social media posts to let everyone know that it's occurring?
I don't see why we couldn't put something on the sign in front of the fire station, and we can certainly put things on the, on the website
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think
social media.
in the email list that people signed up at Pfeiffer's Day, I think we could push to that.
Yeah.
I think this is connected, and at least let people know what's happening and they have an opportunity to,
Yeah, I sent that list off to Rajon.
Yeah.
So he has that, and I was waiting for Kelly to come back from vacation and do the rest of it. So I don't know if that's been input yet, but I could certainly ask him, and then we could send something out, because that's Wednesday. But we can
Yeah,
certainly do that.
I'm not going to be, I'll be able to get the banner stuff up on Monday, but that's the earliest I can do.
I think that would
That's
be
fine.
fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a Zoom-only meeting at 7 o'clock.
Okay.
all right, thank you. Thank you, Maria.
Mary, I
Yes.
just wanted to point out that while Steve Kirby's away on vacation, we do have Carly Spink, who's joining us virtually tonight, so she can take down any questions, notes, or whatever. I'm not sure if she's prepared to answer questions, but she is representing Vertex. Carly Spink.
Great, thank you.
Do you want to make her, I'm sorry, do you want to make her co-host as well?
I don't think we need to.
Okay.
We can, but I think mostly she's taking notes.
Okay.
I'm not sure she's
right.
prepared to answer anything, so,
Okay.
yeah. All right. So I'm going to move us to updates on sites, and we'll just go through the list to see if we have any new news. 700 to 832 Mass Ave.
Not much of an update on that since last meeting, other than I will say that we have not been granted permission yet.
That's painful.
We don't have permission yet for our consultants and engineers to enter the property, but our architect is working on to see what we can do as far as traffic study from the road without entering the property. Additionally, Alec was able to just pull all of the old traffic studies from 2016-17 from the Enclave. I received those I think mid-morning today, and I forwarded them to the committee. It's large, it's a zip file. It came too late to put it in the packet, and also way too late for any of you to read or digest them. But, you know, you do have that, and we can get it into the packet for your next meeting. But I've started reading some of the executive summaries on those, and even those are large, and those are the smallest, you know, amount of, you know, memory on those. So anyways, that's there, and I'll let people make their own judgments on what that data and the executive summaries say. Chief and I did take a drive just prior to this meeting over to 40 Cunningham Road, which was brought up at the last meeting. I have reached out to the owner of that property, waiting for a response. But in the meantime, we went there. We didn't enter the property because we don't have the permission yet, but we did drive all around it, looked it over, and you know, looked at access points as well as topography, as well as we could tell. It is very thickly wooded, but it lies between Mass Ave and Cunningham Road, and it's between. It's also boxed in by Hill Road and Paddock Estates. So we did look that over. Don't know what to think on it yet, but I'll let you know. You know, as soon as I hear back from the owner, and once we get permission to actually go on the property and check that out.
Can I?
So was it worth at least still pursuing, do you think, from your
From what we saw
observation?
so far, yeah, it's about 6.5 acres. Looking at it from WebGIS and other mapping, you can tell that half of it is wetlands. So the question is gonna be, can we squeeze the program onto 3 acres? And then the next thing is access. You know, can we access Mass Ave? Because access out onto Cunningham Road, I think would be difficult.
Really
It's a
difficult.
very, very narrow road, and then
Yeah.
it would be Cunningham to Hill to Mass Ave. So I think the trick would be to have to try to get out to.
Back in the day, didn't Cunningham Road come out on 111
It did.
to the left of the Exxon station?
It did,
Yes.
and that's closed
That's
off now. There's
paddock.
big boulders there, so
Yeah.
we end up having to back out in his command vehicle this afternoon. But so we did
Yeah,
check that out.
it runs into Paddock now. The entranceway to Paddock is blocked with a boulder where Cunningham would hit it. Yeah.
And when you come Cunningham to Hill, that's so tight of a turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a
To
telephone
take-
pole
to
in
take-
the middle of that.
Yeah.
little
I mean, and it's a small road.
triangle,
Hill is a small road.
Yeah.
You know, so.
To the other point, if it were to still continue to where you're saying, the unfortunate part of that is it's right at the ramp to 495, which would be not ideal at all
Right,
to
to
be
come
going into
out there.
traffic right there.
Right, because
So-
that's the
As-
entrance road onto
Yeah, so as Mike
495.
said, the best spot would be to try to see if there were a way to do it off of into Mass Ave.
Can we go back, I'm sorry, to 700, 800 Mass Ave?
Yes.
We have the traffic reports, which are very dense. Are we gonna, those have been given, they're very dense. Are we gonna give those to Steve to get some kind of,
When I sent them to you today,
Yeah.
that was as soon as I had them.
yeah,
In that same message, I also sent them to Emily and Jeff from Contacts and to Steve, who's away on vacation. And I know none of them would have had time to look at them.
No, that's all right.
Yeah.
But they all have that, because I wanted everybody to see it.
But we don't want them to necessarily move forward
Yeah.
on that till we know which is the site we
Yeah.
want to look at in
Right.
depth.
But I mean, I think, in reading through it, as much as I could get to, because it was a short period of time, it talks about some sight lines, right? It does talk about sight
Right.
lines there. It talks about sight lines all over, because it seems like it's a much bigger study than just the 700 Mass Ave. But it talks about sight lines, but it talks about it with respect to cars. And I'd like,
Yeah.
one of the things that we need to keep in mind, that was meant for cars, right, versus
Yeah.
like a fire station. So I want to keep that in mind.
There was a comment in one of the executive summaries from the peer reviewer, and again, I only had a chance to read the executive summary so far, but there was a comment in there about large vehicles along 111, and a concern, I don't know if it said the word concern, but it seemed to me a concern about large vehicles being able to get down to 70% of the posted speed limit, which is 40. And in my mind, I was thinking, if there's a large, let's say there's a tree master truck coming one way and a fire engine coming the other way, you know, I don't know what that would mean, but I assume that's what they were talking about is large commercial vehicles
Yeah.
along 111, and it seemed to be a concern, but I want to
And there
go back
wasn't the footage for the large vehicles, there wasn't enough. I think it was like they needed 375 feet to stop
Right,
safely.
right.
And for the larger vehicles, it was less than that. And for cars, it was a little more than that. So, you know, a car could stop fairly safely. But I mean, it's a lot. It's very dense. And like I said, I just did a quick look.
Yeah.
But it's very dense. And so I guess I know we don't want to spend money on it, but I do think, I'm not sure how we eliminate this without having this conversation with the experts.
Yeah,
You know?
I think we're just doing a little more to see, is there anything better? And
Yeah.
if there isn't, then we start looking at that site. And we would share those with the experts, but then they would be looking at what we need in particular. So I will say that Context has a bid for a traffic study, but it's agnostic about the site at this time. But that way, they're kind of ready to go when we say, we need you to go.
Larry has his hand up. I don't know if you
Okay,
saw it.
Larry?
Yeah, I did get the report and I did read it. And a couple things that need to be noted. One, it was from 2016. Although they did project into the future and they anticipated no significant change. But when you read the executive summary at the end, there were no, again, it was for a residential use of 100 units. The sightline concerns only were that there needed to be some regrading on the property, not on the roadway. That landscape had to be kept down below 3 feet along the property line so that it didn't impact sight line, but that there was sufficient view distance at the location that they showed in that scheme to make the necessary stops. Now again, it wasn't for a fire station, it was for residential, but there was no mitigation at all other than some grading reduction on the site. And that's assuming only 700 Mass Ave. If you include the adjacent parcel, you get another 150 feet of frontage. It only improves. So from what I can read, there are no deal breakers there at all. And in fact, it would just improve.
Great.
Larry, when you say that it only improves, are you basing that, is that just your opinion that it only improves, or did you read that somewhere?
Well, when you look at the alignment of the road, it's more difficult on the eastbound side than the westbound side, because the westbound side doesn't have much of a curve at all, so there's nothing that's blocking visibility. It's on the east side that you have some elevation and you have some curve, and if we can get some additional frontage, we move further away from the eastbound curve. So it will improve visibility.
So that's the part I don't, you've said that before, Larry, and I've driven it, and that's the part I don't get, but that's,
So we need a traffic expert.
that's the part I don't understand, because you're getting frontage going west, on the west side of the property.
Right.
So I don't know, I don't understand.
You're
how that
moving
helps us.
further away from the curve eastbound. The curb cuts would be further away, so you just have more distance without it being obstructed by the curve.
It's actually, if I were on the property, pulling out, looking at Mass Ave, it's actually taking the turn to the left that concerns me the most, with the hill and the curve that's there. The sight line there, to me, even coming out in the command vehicle, I can't imagine what that would be like for because recently was nearly in an accident there, responding to a call, just because of that curve and hill heading towards Harvard, if you would.
Yeah, well, you're making the left is where it will improve if it moves further to the west. You're concerned about making a left and having traffic coming from your right, correct?
I'm concerned about taking a left-hand turn and the traffic that's coming from the left
Yeah.
because of the hill and the curve that's there. It's somewhat of a
you're into
blind.
the curve
Yeah,
more.
it's somewhat of a blind corner coming there.
Okay, so I feel better, because I don't know.
That's why I was
Macy's
trying to figure out, because I'm thinking east and west, and I was just trying to figure out which side you were talking about. But I think we're talking about opposites. I'm actually concerned about the other side. I think that you think that that's not going to be that bad.
So
But-
you're concerned about taking a left and
Yes.
traffic coming
Coming
from
from
Harvard?
the west.
Exactly. For
Into Boxborough.
From the stopping points that we had
Right.
already discussed, I
So
feel like that
that's what I was
coming
thinking
around
as
that
well.
corner and having a fire truck that's going to have to, right now, the way the road is, take both lanes to make that
Yep.
turn is going to be, the cars are going to come around very quickly and have to slam the brakes if there weren't some type of traffic mitigation put on the road.
After hearing the chief's concerns about this at a previous meeting, I've taken every opportunity since then to pull into 700 Mass Ave, as well as I've had 3 pulls into the driveway at 832 Mass Ave, and turned both ways out of both of those. And I can see chief's concern. I mean, I'm not a professional, and I was only driving a pickup truck, but I can see the concern, taking the left out of 750 Mass Ave and having somebody coming up over the hill around that curve. So I think it's something we definitely need to look at.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
mine's a very unprofessional opinion,
Yeah.
but I can see where the chief's concern is coming from.
Right, right. So that would absolutely be something we look at early to figure out, do we want to move with that?
Mary, Jeff Shaw's on, just so you know.
Oh, great, thank you.
Other sites?
Yeah,
Ready?
any other updates?
Just quick ones. So I have reached back out to the owner's rep at 1300 Mass Ave. I told them that we looked and spent some time looking at the 11-acre triangular parcel across, which I think was 1323 Mass Ave, which is across Burroughs Road. And we had our architect take the footprint of the conceptual, put it on, and it does not fit within the buildable area, so that's off the table. And I also asked, I'd like to get together to talk about a price for 1300 Mass Ave. So I'm waiting for a response on that. On 1414 Mass Ave, I've had communication going back and forth with them. They had a vacation, I had a vacation. We're hoping to meet next week to discuss that one. And that's all I have.
Okay. Any other questions?
No, so based on this, I'm not going to really have much to present to Finance Committee,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, sorry.
Okay. No, it's
I
okay.
know.
It's just that the sooner
Yeah.
we have,
Right,
their opinion as well, the better, particularly around, because there may be some comment around, or push towards the zoning, right, because of.
right, right,
Okay.
yeah.
As far as sites, I probably should have emphasized, I'm trying to get to a point with 1300 Mass Ave, 1400 Mass Ave, and 40 Cunningham of, are you willing and is there a price?
Yeah.
And there are a couple other properties that have been pointed out to me that I'm not ready to talk about yet because I haven't talked with owners, I don't have clearance or whatever, but still having those discussions as opportunities have arisen. Nothing with great potential other than what we just discussed.
But at 40, it's also, can we do the programming at 40 Cunningham?
Correct. We
Not
have to-
just, the 1300 and 1414, we were pretty confident we could do programming there.
Right, 40,
we have.
it is a matter of, it looks like approximately 3 acres, and it's, we couldn't get a good eye on the terrain because it's so thickly wooded, and we don't have permission to go on it yet, but we haven't seen a showstopper yet if we can fit the program on 3 acres and have access to Mass Ave.
All right, well, thank you for all that work. I know it's a lot. All right, I'm going to move us to the FSBC listening sessions update. So, Mac?
Okay, Mary and I met with 11 very interested and active members of our community who wanted to talk about what we're doing. There were 3 main areas that we asked them to think about and talk about. Obviously, the size and the cost and the program being one, the process going forward, and also the site. But there was, as you might imagine, there was most interest in the cost. And we spent 2 hours, actually, mainly talking about that. Mary has taken some notes. And our original plan was to meet for 2 Mondays in a row. We met on the 30th of June. We were supposed to meet this past Monday on the 7th, but it turns out that the group gave Mary and I a lot of homework to do. And so we were in the process of doing that and following up on some things. I'll be asking, I thought I'd send a note to the chief, but I will be sending that tomorrow. One of the members of the group came up with 6 comparable, in his opinion, communities that had different sizes of firehouses and costs, and we're going to follow up and look at those. Right now, actually I haven't gotten back to the group. I've just gotten attendance for we asked them either the 21st or the 28th, and it turns out the 28th has the 9 out of the 11 members can come. On the 21st, only half the members could come, so we'll have our next meeting on the 28th of July. And
Matt, quick question. Will you be able to fit in the Morse Hillberg, because there's a select board meeting here on the 28th, unless you do it, that's a meeting at 7 p.m.
So we could also look at the library.
Yeah, I came early last time and tried to set that up, and I moved the tables together and put the chairs around. I could not get 14 chairs around that without people being literally on top of each other.
So we'd be 11.
Well, 11 plus 3 of us.
No, isn't it 9 plus?
No, it's 11.
But
Oh,
I thought you
it'd be
said
9,
only
yes.
9 could come.
I'm sorry, so
Yeah.
11 or 12 of us, yes.
Yeah.
So actually, I think we could get 11 in there. I just
Yeah.
couldn't get 14 in
Why don't
there.
we take a look at it after this meeting?
Okay.
And then if it looks like you can't, let's reserve the library,
Okay.
if it's
Okay.
available.
I was going to contact Kelly tomorrow to ask her about that, so that's good to know.
Good.
So we'll be getting back together with them, and I think we're thinking that there may be even one more meeting after this, because there was a lot of good discussion, and we haven't tackled the other 2/3 of the content, and each of the 11 members who attended sent me a note the next morning saying that they thanked us for getting them together, and saying the word that I heard most was it was constructive meeting. So I think it was helpful, and at some point we'll bring all that information back to this committee.
On the 6 comparable communities that somebody brought you, are we looking into that, or we're not paying the engineers to
No, we're
look into
doing
that?
it.
We're doing that, okay.
Well, we're asking the chief to
That's
talk
what I
to the
mean,
chief.
but what I mean is it's being done.
We're asking Steve Kirby if he would look online
So
to get
we did
basic
ask,
information.
yeah, Steve to pull some, because he'll have access to some things we don't have. But then some of the committee members had access to things that don't seem to be publicly available, so we're going back to them and saying, can you get the full set of information? And so, yeah.
And will that be part of the information you report back, like those 6 comparable communities?
Yes,
Sure.
absolutely.
By comparable, I'm just, are they the same where there's no public water, there's septic, that kind of
Well,
thing? Is it,
that's
something you're
We're
going
We're
checking
looking
it.
at that.
ascertain?
I think they, right now, are sized.
right. They're all less than 20,000 people in those towns, and most of them are 10,000, around 10,000.
So it's size comparable, not
Yes.
necessarily.
Right, so that'll be a
Right.
piece of the data we.
Okay.
That's what we need to get back to them. It's not as simple as just saying somebody has 5,500 people and they have a smaller firehouse than we do. We know it's not that simple.
Yeah.
Mac, just a thought, it just occurred to me. I've heard 2 of the planning board members talk about looking at comparable communities as far as the zoning for public safety and, governmental use. So I've heard Rich Gazzardi talk about it, I've heard Mark White talk about it. They may not align with the comparables you're looking at, but it may be worth touching base with them. If you don't have their contact information, I can give it to you, and because they may be looking at the same communities. While they're looking at zoning, you may be looking at other things, but there may be some overlap.
Yeah, no, that'd be good to know.
Also, Rajan did secure a copy of what the FinCom uses for tax impact, and Mary and I talked about maybe meeting with you and Tony and looking at how we might be able to use that. As one of the members of our group came up with a formula, and that it works, but it doesn't have...
Oh, you're talking about the number for the actual tax impact?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And
Yeah,
then-
that's fine. It's a formula.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
just a spreadsheet.
I just got it before I came to this meeting, and I will send it to you.
Oh, good.
So
Okay.
that's something that, you've mentioned that, Alan, several times. It's, how is it going to impact me?
Right.
That's what people need to know. And one of the interesting things that I discovered from a formula that one of our members gave us, that you can cut $5 million out of the project, and the impact for somebody with $1 million home might be $250 a year. So it's still a big number, but somebody who has a $600,000 house, it might be $200. So that's the thing we've got to nail down with the exact impact.
So I think the only issue with trying to nail it down that specifically, the formula itself that we use, it takes our average house value.
Yeah.
So I think last year it was like 700 and something. This year it's going to
It
flip
was
into
940, I think, right now.
Yeah, it is in the 900s.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe that's what it was. But, so that's just, we were working on, I don't know where Tony is on this, we were working on a formula you could put in your house value based on your assessed value and have it spit out the number.
Because they had the calculator that everybody was impressed with,
Yes.
and they want a similar calculator. I'm like, okay, I don't know if we can do that, but we're going to see.
So Tony might, I think we were trying to get something like that onto the FinCom page.
Yeah.
But we, with town meeting and stuff, so
Yeah.
Tony may already be halfway there or
Okay.
better, right? Because basically you put in any value you want and you come up with the number. We happen to use the average house. But if you take that and you make it universal,
Right.
then, you can
Yeah.
just put in
Yeah.
whatever. That's-
Obviously, that would be the best, but if we know that it's going to cost me X dollars on a $940,000 house, I can say, well, how much is it going to cost me on a $600,000? That's just a
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can do the
simple
math.
Yeah,
formula.
we can do that.
Yeah.
Do the
And
math
we were
quickly.
trying to come up with one that we could put on the website that people could go in and it would be interactive. And I
Right.
don't know how far along down the path Tony is on that. We have one that we use that we put in different, formulas and
Right.
different values and stuff.
And we understand that we don't know actually what the interest rate would be. And so if, that can be a field that you vary to see the range, that's helpful.
Right, so I think that we've got an average that we were using based on what Hilltop was telling Tony at the time on the debt. So we had a figure that they gave us.
Okay.
That was close.
Good,
So,
good.
I mean, and I think that, you can only get so close.
Right,
There's
exactly.
too many variables.
Exactly.
Right.
There's a lot of variables until reality, you're going for the
And
loan.
the other thing, the other component that we're struggling with is we have debt in town that we know is falling off and we have it on a schedule. So this project could cost $500 on your tax bill, but we might have debt falling off. And that is, again, most of the debt, almost all our debt, long-term debt, is debt exclusion vote, right? So once that falls off, the
Yeah.
levy goes, you can't just backfill that.
Right.
So if it may be $500 for this, but if you have $100 fall off, then the net effect's only $400 on your tax bill. But that's really difficult to put into a formula.
Yeah.
And we're all volunteers.
Right.
So, you can only, but that's
No.
very difficult because we're trying to, that's why we have some of these charts that
Right.
shows, here's our debt today and here's how this existing debt's going down, but the fire station debt's going up, so that you can see our existing debt goes down and that affects everything. So it's not, just so that and the people in the room understand, we'll get as close as we can. But
Right.
there's just no way we're gonna be able to give you a number that is,
Right.
dead on.
Right.
It's
We
just
obviously
gonna be-
I mean, we don't even know what the cost of the building is.
And that's the other thing, right.
And we have, really, the two big things are the interest rate and tariffs that we can't
Right.
predict.
Right,
So,
right. So,
It's a moving target, but I think we can get to
It gives you an
it.
understanding, it gives you a relative comparison at different levels, that kind of thing.
And I think we came up with that for town meeting,
Exactly,
you know.
yeah,
so.
yeah, good.
So Mike, you're gonna send the comps for me?
Yes.
Just a quick question. So when it comes to those, are you looking for me to really do a deep dive into each community, like, as far as?
No,
like,
we were
or
hoping you would just talk with the chief and say, I understand your building is X square feet. Is that enough, or is that appropriate for your community? What are the things that you didn't get that you wish you had, or is everything adequate for your size and for the cost? Just some broad information that to know if that size, if it's 2/3 the size of what we're looking at, is that adequate for that community?
I just was curious, because like, once and I don't know what the communities are, so I was just like, though they may be similar in square mileage and maybe population, is it like more aggregate, agricultural versus industrial? Is it coastal versus, there's so many different things that play into comps when it comes to the size of the fire
Yeah,
station.
so we're pulling
what
other
their needs are,
data
so I
on the
just was curious about
communities.
that. Okay.
Other people are pulling other data.
So, just quickly, and I'll send you this. Carlisle, Harvard, Middleton, Sherburne, Sterling, and Stowe. So, and their populations go from the same size as us, Harvard, 5,600, to about 14,000.
I guess I just have to find out, I can find out if it met their needs for
Yes.
what their needs to serve their community are, but if their needs for their community are completely different than our needs for our community, are they truly a comp? And that's what I want to, do you need me to establish that, or are you guys going to figure out what we need versus what they need?
Why don't you wait and we'll pull data on the towns and then we'll see if they're truly a comp.
Okay.
Can you tell me again, Carlisle,
Nope.
Harvard,
Sherburne, Middleton,
Sherburne, Littleton,
Middleton.
Not Littleton?
No.
Middleton.
Carlisle, Harvard, Middleton, Sherburne, Sterling, and Stowe.
Okay, got
So
it.
can I ask a question? So you're gonna pull more information, but like Harvard's an all-volunteer fire department, correct? So is that
They have
part of the,
full-time.
I'm gonna ask somebody to pull as much information as they can about these towns, and then we'll bring it all forward. I can't tell you what they're gonna be
no,
able
I
to pull right
understand, but I
now.
just, when you say comparable, I guess that's
That's
what.
really not
We
Is it
need to,
comparable?
we also need to ask, well, that's why we have to pull the data. I don't know, one of the committee members picked these. I don't understand why he picked them. We need to ask him why he picked these towns, and maybe they're not the comparables. Maybe we need to be looking at other towns. I'm gonna ask a personal friend of mine to pull a whole bunch of data, and then we're gonna move forward with that.
And obviously, too, what we're doing has to meet current code.
Obviously. Yeah, everybody's
Well,
does.
what are the age of these comparables?
Exactly.
You know?
That's one of the
I mean,
variables.
somebody can compare to our station from 1950 and say Boxborough
Yeah.
only has 8,000 square feet.
And it only cost them $50,000 to build it.
Exactly. It's not really comparable anymore.
So tell me what these factors are. What are these, what would make it comparable?
Having no public water supply.
No public water. You got that.
Having a hybrid department that's both career and per diem.
Well, and EMTs are
Wait.
separate.
Hybrid department that's career and per diem. I don't know if we're gonna be able to pull that off the web, but okay.
2 major interstates running through the town
Yeah, they have to service 495
at a
or
minimum.
a road like
Or a
that.
major highway.
Service a highway.
I'd say major interstate. There's some things that are considered a highway that aren't really.
Yeah.
I would also check into whether they have if it's septic or town sewer. That makes a big deal.
One station versus a headquarters and substations.
And then again, I mean, I could talk to chiefs and ask about the type of calls that they face. Again, is it more residential versus more maybe commercial within the community, depending on, I've known some of the towns I know, but others I'm not quite familiar with, so.
Is that
I'd wanna
something we
see-
can pull off the web? I'm
I'm sure you
asking
could.
for
I'm
what
sure there's
I'm
plenty of,
gonna pull.
Yeah, there's plenty of sites out there where you can see what the residential base versus the commercial base is.
So it's the base, not what the calls are.
Right,
It's-
I would like
okay.
to see, is it more, do you have a community that's more commercial versus residential, or
And
or
does,
vice versa?
so is that the tax base? Or is it,
Should be able to see,
what's
You can
what's
get that
the
from
base of?
assessor. So the assessor's office, so our assessor can tell you that our town is got 21% commercial base. And that's 21% commercial properties, basically, right? Now, you'd also,
So base is properties.
is that what you're
That's what
referring
I'm
to?
referring
Right,
to,
you're
yes.
referring to that. So
Okay.
whether you have commercial properties or residential properties.
Okay.
And by commercial, that includes industrial, commercial, office parks, anything other than a resident,
right.
right?
Which
Yes.
obviously helps to
And-
pay the taxes.
And if you further break down residents into multifamily apartments,
Right.
so, because that would make a difference too. if
So
it's
a lot of
apartment
times
building.
when places are a little bit more densely populated,
Yep.
it drives call volume up. Some industry itself drives call volume up and creates different needs based on the type of industry that you have within the community. So there's just different things that go, so I'm just want to make sure that it's a true comp, that's all.
So then we need to pull all of this for Boxborough, because we don't have all of this anywhere
Right.
for Boxborough. So we need to pull it for
I
Boxborough.
think we have a lot of it, Mary.
But we don't have it, like, I'm gonna make a table. It's not in a table that anyone can give me, is it?
I don't think we've done this at any other, no, but it should be easy enough to pull. I mean, I think, we can certainly.
Because we need to be able to say what's comparable and what isn't. And if you don't have Boxborough in there, you can't say that.
So we've also talked about what comparable means, and even if some of those aren't comparable, it's going to bring up the issues that we can say to the public. Some people think, well, gee, Harvard is the same as we are, and here are the reasons that they aren't, and that's why they have a different kind of station. So I think it'll give us information even if they aren't real comps.
Would you consider things like median income and things
So
like
that-
that
I was-
as comparable?
I was just going to talk about that,
Yeah.
because
Well,
we used to
that-
have a list of comparable
that
communities for
doesn't-
negotiations.
How does that affect the size of the fire
Right, that
station?
doesn't affect the size of the fire station. It affects
Does it?
maybe
How
what
does it?
people can pay.
It affects affordability.
Right.
So what are our comps? And so that's what I was going to say. We used to have a list.
We
The
do
last
still.
time we negotiated,
We do.
and we still do, right?
We do
'Cause I
have a
think-
list of 20 communities.
Yeah.
We talked about that yesterday. Another place, as this person is looking for this data, a good place to get it is called City Data. It's a website that has all kinds of geographic data, demographics data, age, it has financials, composition, and that's a good place to pull for a lot of these things. And then, as was mentioned, the assessor's office for each of these
And
communities
what
will have
about local services?
DLS.
Yeah. Yeah, they have a lot of information on the towns as well,
We're
and a lot of financial information. Department of Local Services, Mary, it's a government website.
roughly how many square miles are we?
Wait, city
We're 10.
data,
We're 10. So I want to just bring up something about median income. We're roughly 10 square miles, and if you looked at the city of Lowell is approximately 13 square miles. Would you say that we're comparable, even though we have a 3-mile
Yeah.
difference in square
Yeah.
mileage? Like, I would not. So that's why I'm saying
Right.
perhaps looking at median incomes, I don't know what the demographics and what the makeup of some of these, smaller size or equal sized communities may be.
So like, I think that financially, Carlisle is not one of our comparables. I think Middleton maybe, do not believe Carlisle is. And I do not believe Harvard is, which is bizarre, because I think they were one of our touchdowns. So I think financially, when we look at that list of 20, some of these aren't comparable, but that's on a financial, that's
Yeah.
housing prices, it's income, it's, the EQV, it's all of that goes into
Right.
that number, which is different, other than affordability,
Right.
right?
And what Mac and Mary are working on is is a list that's been proposed to them as comparables. They're not saying they're comparables.
Right.
Right.
If
Right.
they're digging up some information. And like, anytime we get to the negotiating table, whether it's a union contract or personal contract, or even the personnel board looking at the personnel plan, that one of the first things is establish, are these comparables or are these not? And I think that's the exercise you're going through, pulling this data to establish, are these comparables, are they not? And are the other ones that need to be pulled in as a pool of comparables?
Right.
Well, Mary said early on that they're going to ask the person that gave them the list, why do they think those are comparable to us? Maybe the person is an expert in this kind of thing.
Right.
But see, I would contend that we're probably looking at this a little too deeply. I think all this information is important, but even if we find that only half of them are sort of comparable, again, we'll be able to say to the community, we were asked to look at 6 communities. 3 of them look pretty good and they have a comparable this or that, and the other 3 aren't, and these are the reasons why that they can have a smaller fire station or a cheaper fire station or whatever.
Right.
And that's absolutely what we should be doing,
Right.
right?
Right.
That's
We just gotta make sure that we're getting all the information for all of them to make
Right.
sure that we're all, we can eliminate them and not have someone say, yes, but you didn't do everything to get all the information,
I
right?
guess my
So
point was,
this is-
I don't think we need to look for try to find other comparable communities, because I think we'll get enough information from these 6.
The worry that I have is we do these 6, and then somebody says, well, what about such and such? What about such and such? What about such and such? Until we're 350 communities wide.
351.
And 351. Well, okay, because we're on the list. And, in all honesty, I'm going to pay somebody to do this. So I want to do it once, and I don't want to keep going back, nickel and diming, one more.
Right.
Wouldn't it be interesting when someone talks to these other towns, if they say, well, we did what you're trying to do, let us share you what our comparables
I would
were.
love that.
Yeah, they may have done that too.
And we will post this so someone else can
Yeah.
take it.
Well, and the thing is that I know that Stowe has not recently built a fire
Right.
station. It was a few years ago. So a lot of these,
Right.
that's the other thing I think, Mary,
Yeah,
that's
I want to
important
know, is there a list of currently built fire stations?
Right.
Yeah.
Like current being in the last year. Or
Well,
the
5
2
years,
Yeah, I'd
5
say
years.
5.
5 years?
How
Well,
often
after
does the-
COVID.
Well, let's ask the chief.
Well.
Setting cost aside, chief, how far back in age could we go and still have a comparable fire station of what we need to build for you?
Honestly, I'd defer to Jeff and Steve on that question. I wouldn't know. With what the market, with the way market has changed and the price of goods and
Well, not the
construction
price,
costs and all
setting
that stuff.
price aside.
They program.
How far back can we go and still have the code relevant to the code
Yeah.
we're going to apply to your design?
I
Jeff?
honestly don't know. I would
Okay.
Jeff,
defer to Jeff.
let's ask
unmuted.
Jeff. Jeff, want to answer that for us?
I certainly would be happy to answer it for you. So the 2 things are the building code, which has changed a bit over the last several years, probably 5, 6 years, in terms of the energy in particular. The rest of the building code is, for our intents and purposes, largely the same. But from the energy side of things have increased a bit, so that would have driven costs. But if you're saying we should keep costs out of it, then I would say from a building code perspective, I wouldn't be concerned. But what I would want to make sure is that stations are being built under current best practices for fire station design. And I would say probably within the last 6 to 8 years, I wouldn't want to compare anything later than that, because it's probable that those stations weren't designed with current best practices. It's not to say that they weren't doing it wholesale, but if you use that as a metric, I think that would be a reasonable one.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
That makes sense.
Mhm.
All right, citydata.org.gov.
It may be .com, but if you just put in city data,
Yep,
enter, you'll find it.
Okay.
It'll take
And
you to
is
you.
it the Division of Local Services or the Department of Local
If
Services?
you put in,
Division of
And
Local
it's
Services.
that's Massachusetts.
That's a mass state site.
if somebody was to Google DLS, Mass, it'll take you right to it.
And that has got so much information. We discovered it Becky discovered it actually, when she was the chair of the FinCom, because we weren't getting information from, that was the chaos downstairs, before Mike. And it just gives you tons of information on every community, financial and otherwise. So it's
Alright.
kind of like, it is just a crazy
Can
amount
you
of
pull
information.
down like tables of data, Excel files?
You can, I think so, because I think Tony does that. So
Yeah,
I mean, you
yeah,
can,
it
I mean,
makes
I don't,
sense.
so
Beautiful.
here's the thing, Mary, if you can, I don't know how to do that.
I
So-
do.
I know you do. So if you go to that site, I
Yeah.
think you can probably download information. I
All right,
don't know how to do it.
beautiful.
That
Beautiful.
census stock of pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
A couple things that stand out to me when you're looking at comparables, as I think of a place like Situate or Boxborough, think of what makes us really different and unique as far as fire extinguishing or EMS. If you go to Situate, you can't keep that community safe without 2 stations because the town is so divided, because some of it is out inaccessible at high tide or during a
Oh.
weather emergency. They must have 2 stations. So think about what makes Boxborough unique. We have a career department, which means they have to sleep over at the station, so they live in the station. And the other thing is we don't have a water supply. There are other things, and the chief could point you towards them, but I think those are really critical that for a comparable, they must meet some of those expectations, I think.
I think the 2 you mentioned are huge. The no water and the, like Harvard is mostly volunteer. I know they have 2 full-time firefighters, but it's a mostly volunteer fire crew. So, when you look at that, is that really a comparable? Because we have full-time firefighters. We have, numerous ones. So, and the rest of it's not volunteer. It is paid per diem guys. So anyway, and women, so.
And what's the language, like if you are searching to understand if the firefighters sleep in the firehouse versus don't,
It's just
Cor-
whether they have full-time personnel.
full-time? So
Yes.
if they have full-time personnel,
Hey,
they're
well,
most likely
Do they have
sleeping in
full-time personnel to staff 24 hours a day?
24 hours,
Yeah,
okay.
Yes. Because right now.
Sarah's got her hand up too.
Right now, we're staffing our firehouse, 2 full-time employees of the town, plus a per diem we run 4 shifts that rotate amongst 24 hours a day.
Yeah, okay, great.
Sarah.
Sarah.
has her hand up.
Yeah. Also, Jeff mentioned like the last 6 to 8 years. If we're looking at communities that have built fire stations in the last 6 to 8 years, there's a good chance that they would, if we contacted them, have a drawing available of the spaces within their fire station. So if this is geared towards only looking at the size of the fire station, we can get that drawing, we can see what is there. Saying Harvard has a mostly volunteer fire station, well, if they don't have overnight rooms
Right.
and as large of rooms as the staff, we'd be able to see that on the drawings.
Yes, that's a great point.
I'm sorry, Chief, is Harvard currently building a station?
That's what we've heard.
They're in discussions about it.
They're in
not-
discussions,
that's
but
all
they,
I've
yeah,
only
so
heard they're in
they have not
discussions.
built a new station yet.
Correct.
That's what I thought too. I thought
Yeah.
that they were, in the process of
They're in the
looking
I
into
think
it.
that, I don't even, if I'm not mistaken, the last I heard was I don't believe they have a location or anything. They're not as far along as we are, is my understanding.
Mike, didn't the
have a
fellow,
location
the fellow who owns the apartment, brick apartment building right across the street on Stowe Road, didn't he say he's on the building committee in Harvard?
He did,
Yeah,
yeah. I don't
So-
remember what they're building or what they've built, but yes.
yeah.
Yeah,
Harvard just built a new elementary school.
they did right before us.
Right before us, so I don't know if that was the building committee or if it's a more recent one.
I think they have a
He's on
permanent
their
one, don't
permanent
they?
municipal
Oh,
building
okay,
committee.
probably.
So I don't know,
Yeah.
he was involved in a discussion with us, but we didn't get into talking about what they built. He was, kind of lending his expertise, and Steve Kirby happened to know him from working on another
Okay.
project with him, because he's also in the trades.
Yeah.
Good. All right, so that's the piece of the homework we're doing. I'm going to move us to public outreach update.
So Sarah correct me if I'm wrong, but we don't have a lot going on because we are waiting.
Yep.
But we are going to take this opportunity to reach out to people to get them to the meetings, the planning board meetings. And we will do that through social media and posts. And if Rajon's got those emails up and running, then we should send something out anyway, because there are people who have signed up for the fire station notifications, even if all those emails haven't been put in yet. But we're at a standstill
Okay.
until you guys, unless,
I think that I'm going to go back to the earlier public input since town meeting, and then with this listening group, we are hearing things that people are saying we need to educate the community on better. And although that hurts my soul, I'm going to lift up above that and say, okay, I'm going to find a way to do that.
But are you hearing what we need to, just in general?
I think there's specific information that they need to hear. Like one of the things that was criticized about the town meeting presentation is that we didn't talk about the 15 sites that we have already looked at, and now we're going to add another 5 or so sites. And so we need to have information about that. Now, we did do that in a forum, in an early forum, but we didn't keep saying it because we were educating people sequentially. I think we need to think about a way that we have, like, I'm thinking we need a set of tools. And those tools, we can then go out into the community, and the houses that I'm going to go to, I can use it. When Alan's at the transfer station, he can use it. And you can talk to somebody, and they say, well, what about X? And you pull out the tool about X. And we're all giving the same message, and it's data-driven, it's not opinion-driven, and we're educating the community that way. And so I'm trying to listen and hear what it is the community thinks they need to hear to get to yes. What do we need to do to get to yes?
Okay. And you're going to compile that and let us know?
I'm going to work on that,
we have a list of items that we're trying to pull out for the website. And we're still waiting for Steve to get to us on the reports, right?
Emily's working on that. We talked to her about that yesterday. So she's pulling, and they're going to pull all the different plans and things and label them well, and then we're going to put them up on the site so people can grab them individually and not in big packets.
So when you have that, because we've talked to Rajon on how we want to set up, we want to clean up kind of the left-hand side of the website, because there's like, the context contract and the vertex contract, all of that stuff can go into one folder, one link that says OPM and, whatever, architect contracts.
Right.
And then
you've communicated all that
I
to
have,
Rajon.
but we were waiting for, so
the
once Emily
materials.
has all of that, and then we were going to do things like we were going to do previous sites, and that was going to be one link to one document, the document that you've done, and we'll add to it, that thing. And we have all the PowerPoints that are very well, there's a description of them all. And so all of that, but we were waiting for the reports. And once Emily's got that, if you let me know that, then I can sit, I told Rajon I'd come and sit with him. We had a meeting, the 4 of us, and I would go over how this should look on that left-hand page. It's easier. You can only do so much over the Zoom meeting. Yeah. So, but we just need that information, and then we'll be good to go. I mean, I've got the PowerPoints. The other thing we also, Mary, I think you're right. We need to have some stuff, and I would call it data-driven talking points. Yes. Not opinions, but it's data-driven talking points, right? And it all needs to be on the same. But some of this needs to be, people need to understand, we do have all our packages up.
Yes, I know.
And so we do need to let them know that too. We're going to put all this stuff up there. My fear is we're going to do all of this, everything's going to be there, and they're still going to say, so I don't understand.
I know.
It's going to clearly say
sites. This is where, so I got on this committee with the strong hope that I was not going to go into 50 living rooms, and I have given up that hope. And I am willing to go into 50 living rooms or more. And I'm willing for you all to go to different living rooms.
I'm willing for you all to go into 50 living rooms as well.
We already are set up to go to every living room in town.
Well, we are.
But
somehow, because this is how we passed the school building, we went all over to somehow people are willing to gather 10 of their friends, have a little wine, and hear. I mean, I literally, don't tell work, grabbed my projector from work and went and projected in people's living rooms. The superintendent and I went all over. We went to Robbinsbrook and did something there. We went to some other community, some of these HOAs, I guess, have community centers. We presented in community centers. We presented in people's living rooms, and we got the vote. So
I agree with that, but we reached out to the HOAs.
Yes.
And we got no response.
Right.
On the Enclave or
I know.
Sheriff's Meadows. So it's a little frustrating.
But
as
there
well.
might be some homeowners within the HOAs who would say, yes, I would have you come to my home.
There are 3 people from
The Enclave.
the Enclave on our of 11. And
Yeah.
there are people who are, I'm sure, will invite us there.
That'd be great.
Yeah. So, but I want to have, my biggest thing is I want to have the answers. And so even for myself, I want to have the data-driven talking points. And then, I've been thinking about this and I'm like, well, I don't need to go everywhere myself. Matt could do some, or you guys go to the senior luncheon.
Yeah.
That's a great place to get folks. And certainly Alan's out there and, and maybe we're knocking on some doors. Dave McKiernan was brilliant at that.
He said he'd come back.
Okay.
Maybe
He
you're
said, I'll
gonna,
come back and knock on doors.
maybe you're gonna find out from these listening groups, what is the exact information people feel they need?
Right.
Do they need to read 275 pages? No, and they're not
Right.
going to.
Right.
But what is the information? And we can make the fact sheet based
Exactly.
on what people think they need.
That's exactly what, I think we are going to get some of that. I think if I go back and listen to the public outreach, we heard some of that.
Yeah.
And so, because I do think they don't need everything, but they do need some things.
And maybe a summary of all the forms we did, how we made a list?
Yeah.
I could give you what they all turn out to be. We know it's price.
Right,
But
right.
yet, when we talk about it, people don't seem to be concerned about price. They're more
Well, this-
concerned about
Yet.
a more expensive station at a different location and not take advantage of
Well,
the economics of the site the committee chose.
But I think we're hearing about we're hearing from people not in my backyard. And I think that's a big part of what we heard. So
Right.
that we heard price from people who are worried about price and not so much location because it's not in their backyard.
Right.
And then we heard from the abutters who said, we don't want this in our neighborhood.
So there's
So
a
they're
cost.
not as concerned about
So
price.
if the
There's a
zoning
cost
gets
or not,
squared
not
away,
that.
that's going to answer a lot of that question.
Yeah.
Not in my backyard.
Well, yes and no. I mean,
Well,
if it has ag res, then it's not
Well,
going to answer that
that's
question.
true.
And I do believe, I don't know how that we go ahead with zoning that doesn't allow public safety in ag res. So, I think we're still at that question. The question is there a way to give information and make the abutters feel better if we end up at 72, wherever we end up.
Or
Because we
somewhere
end up
else.
at 700, 800, we still have abutters, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
There's wherever
absolutely.
we end up, Cunningham, I worry about those abutters. I worry that we're gonna end up there and we're gonna end up, so let's say that works. And I'm worried that we're gonna get the abutters, which is Paddock Estates, and the neighborhood, the Hill Road neighborhood. Really, I feel like
Yeah.
we're gonna be in the same place.
Yeah.
Like, I wish there was 3 acres across from my house. I'd be just as happy. I'm with Becky. Put a fire station next to my house. God forbid
Yeah.
something happens. I want them close. But, so I
Yeah.
think we need to really think about that.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So next we have approval of minutes from June 17th and from June 26th. So June 17th was our 3-board meeting with the planning board and the fire station. Are there any comments or edits on those minutes? If not, I would take a motion to approve.
so moved.
Second.
Okay. Okay, Alan moved and Maria seconded. I'm going to take a roll call vote. All those in, well, I'll take a roll call vote. Maria?
Yes.
Alan?
Aye.
Mac?
Yes.
Mary, yes. Sarah?
Aye.
Larry?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, then we have minutes from June 26th. Any comments on those?
I have a question on the way something's worded. The second page, the third paragraph from the top that starts Jeff Shaw context.
Reading from the bottom.
The very, pardon?
Third
Yes.
paragraph from the bottom.
Yes.
I saw your finger. You said from the top.
Oh, I'm sorry. From the bottom.
I'm like, there's no Jeff
From the
Shaw.
bottom.
Sorry.
The second to the last line in that paragraph that says, meetings with the working group and for with the committee with context and additional meetings. I didn't understand, it's not supposed to be additional.
Yeah.
Something's not right there.
Chair Brown said that this would allow for an additional 8 meetings with the working groups and 4 with the committee.
With context and additional meetings. Should that be additional experts, additional, what should that be?
I didn't bring the contract tonight with me.
Yeah, it's additional meetings for context, right?
Well, it's about additional meetings for context, and it says there's additional working group meetings, there's additional committee meetings, and then it says and additional meetings. And, well, Jeff, if you're online, maybe you could pull up the contract and clarify that.
Yeah, just give me a moment to do that.
Yep.
I'm happy to.
Understood. Anything else while he's looking at that?
Yeah, just something stupid. On the next page, the third paragraph down, the second line says, Mr. Reed will be a good leader for the group and work to find a way. It should be, and will work to find a way.
Yeah. Okay, will work. Excellent.
It's a heavy responsibility.
I know. Okay, Jeff, when you're ready, but no hurry.
Yeah, no problem. I got it here. So the amendment that we were working on and looked at had continued attendance via Zoom at 8 weekly working group meetings, bi-monthly fire station building committee meetings on the second and fourth Thursdays of the month, and that was the entirety of it.
Okay.
So I'm not sure where the additional meetings came from, but
Yeah.
it was essentially for the working group meetings and the bi-monthly fire station building committee meetings.
Okay. So we can just take off and additional meetings.
Yeah, just
And
put
stop
a
there.
period after context.
Yep, exactly. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, Alan.
You're welcome.
All right, so can I have a motion to approve the June 26 meeting minutes as amended?
So moved.
Second.
So Alan moved, Maria seconded, roll call vote. Maria?
Yes.
Alan?
Yes.
Mac?
Yes.
Mary, yes. Sarah?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Okay. So before we go to, well, we can go to updates. Are there any other updates? No. Okay. No others. Okay. What I want to do before we adjourn is confirm attendance at the next 3 meetings. Because we are in summer and people are letting me know after a meeting a few days before, and I don't want to all of a sudden there's no quorum at a meeting. So is anyone away for the July 24th meeting?
Away and can't, so I'm going to zoom into that.
You
meeting.
zoom
don't
in
care
is
if
fine.
it's
I
Zoom.
don't
Okay.
care if you're
Yeah.
zooming in.
I'm present.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep,
I'm good.
Okay, so everyone's there. August 14th, I will be away.
I'm present.
Is anybody else going to be away? Okay, so just me. So Mac, you're going to be in the hot seat.
Which meeting was that, Mary?
August 14th.
Okay.
And I'm taking 1 real week, so I'm not going to zoom in. I am fully offline. I'm not even going to bring my computer. I might have withdrawal symptoms, but August 28th.
I will not be here.
I don't have a problem.
Okay, that's the only one I'm hearing there. I may go remote for that one, because I'm trying to get to Florida to visit family. But I can attend, so, okay, thank you. With that, I would take a motion to adjourn.
Cindy has her hand up. Are you
Oh,
gonna do-
sorry, I forgot public comments at the end, sorry, public input, yeah. Okay, so if anyone has public input at this time, you can either raise your hand online, step up to the mic in the room.
I am unmuted, Cindy.
Okay, Cindy?
Yeah, hi. Thanks for calling on me. I just want to address sort of Maria's initial summary of the planning board discussion from our last meeting on June 30th and the PowerPoint presentation, which I prepared. That was the intention of that, and the intention of my understanding of that meeting was that it was going to be the start of our working session. So the PowerPoint presentation, I just want to be clear, was an initial start at driving some discussion regarding current municipal uses and the need, to narrow, or potentially to narrow the focus of what we might be looking to do. And it was just a proposal and just a point of discussion. So I didn't want your committee or anyone else who's reviewing that document to say that this is, a firm stance by one member of the planning board. That's not the intent of the document. It was to open the discussion. I had anticipated that other folks that night were also going to be making presentations on information that they had gathered, but my understanding is some of that's being pushed to this next meeting on July 16th, which I understand is going to be a working group, and Alec is assembling lots of other documents. So I just want to caution you, don't assume that this was a one and done presentation from one member. It was my intent to begin the discussion, and I just want to caution you all to take it in that vein. We will be having lots more discussions. We heard lots of input at our joint meeting, and this was just an opener. So please don't read more into it than that. So I just wanted to point that out. Thanks.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. Yep. Anyone else?
Nobody else currently has their hand up. Becky? No?
Okay, with that, I would take a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Okay, second.
Oh, I heard Mac move and I heard Maria get in there twice.
I don't care.
Maria seconded. Roll call vote. Maria?
Yes.
Alan?
Yes.
Mac?
Yes.
Mary? Yes. Sarah?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes?
All right, thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
So maybe
You too, thanks.
you could join me on